Dan Fenn has been a member of First Parish since 1949. A staff assistant to President Kennedy in the White House, a commissioner at the United States Tariff Commission, a founding director of the JFK Library, Lexington Selectman, and as he says, he has trouble holding a job. But I love this guy. He and I and Ruth Rose, every month we sneak off to go and indulge in Shakespeare. And so he may have trouble holding a job, but I'm sure he will not have trouble holding your attention. Please welcome Mr. Dan Fenn.
Thank you. There have been several days that have changed my life, like the time upon graduation from college when I decided, after being a school and college and professional journalist since fifth grade, and a very good one at that, if I do say so, I would rather find a job doing stuff than writing about others doing stuff. Or that June day in 1961 when I got a call from the White House asking me to join President Kennedy's staff. Or that terrible day in Dallas. But instead, I'm going to tell you of another story. One which began in the summer of 1951, although I didn't know it then. I was the director of a Boston nonprofit called the United Council on World Affairs, and we were looking for a secretary. Among the applicants was a recent Smith graduate who, after a year in Europe, had gone to Katie Gibbs' secretarial school, which was the usual route to a job for a young woman in those days. So I hired her at $35 a week. And she turned out to be a most congenial member of our 6-person team. I didn't know much about Patsy McClary's background when I hired her, until one day I came blustering into the office, spouting off about an article I'd seen in the morning paper, reporting that the president of the Armstrong Cork Company had prescribed a dress code for the people who worked there. And I thought that was absolutely atrocious, and I said so. And Patsy looked up rather shyly and said, "That's my family's company." Well, I left the council in 1954, and Patsy and I were pretty much out of touch, although we had a vague notion of each other's whereabouts through our dear mutual friends from the council days, Bill and Janine Traynor. And then, in the early spring of 2001, 50 years later, came the day that changed my life. Bill called to report that they had had lunch with Patsy in Stonington, Connecticut, where she lived, and she'd suggested that I call her. And I did. And there began the love affair that changed my life, that made me whole, that brought me joy and taught me so much. She was 73, I was 78. Being a very reserved New Englander, a Vermonter, she never talked about feelings, but she wrote about them. And she sent cards, and she showed them with presents, like this coffee cup. You can see on the screen. Christmas 2014 with the initials of all of us from the World Affairs Council those days, and since she was the secretary and she labeled all the letters with my initials in, and with hers. And she found so many ways of showing me how she felt, with a smile and a hug and a visible happiness when we were on a cruise down the Danube, northern Italy, a trip to the Grand Canyon, a trip to the vineyard, a trip to visit her son, her daughter. She had very high standards and great taste in art, in dress, in food, in antiques, and for me, I must say. And she wasn't above subterfuge when it came to enforcing her taste on me. Once she asked me to do her a favor. Of course, I said yes, and she whisked me off to her manicurist. And I want to tell you, it was a ghastly experience. And then she told me if I didn't keep my nails cut, she'd take me there again. I kept my nails cut. She had a thing for rhinos, for foxes, and particularly for pigs. My family loved her as much as I did. One of my daughters-in-law wrote of her, she was such a lovely person. David said it was okay if I cried. She brought such richness into our lives. For Patsy died last February 20th, my father's birthday. But she is so much a part of me now, like breathing out and breathing in, that she'll never really be gone from me.